Opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers joining you guys on a holiday Monday edition, as it is the week of Thanksgiving. Happy early Thanksgiving to everybody out there. But of course, we had to give you one more episode before Thanksgiving on what matters most. We're looking at week 11 in the NFL, specifically the Sunday slate, and telling you what mattered most from every single game that we were able to get some eyes on. Connor, how are we feeling tonight as we are recording this on Sunday evening?
Not too shabby, considering the Jets basically got walked off on a punt return. I think things could be worse. I'm comfy. I thought it was, considering the slate, a good week of not only NFL was okay, college football was really good. It felt
college
like
football was nuts.
I woke up and looked at the schedule Saturday, and I'm like, this day sucks. And then by the end of the West Coast games, I was like, that was a wild day of college football. So college was cool. Makes for a fun draft-related look ahead later in the week. But, man, we got a lot of NFL games to go through as this playoff race is really, really tight. And I don't ever like to use this word because I think it's unfair, but it felt like a couple teams were really exposed today that have been cruising on kind of easy street for a while. And exposed is the wrong term because I still think they're really, really good teams. But there was some surprises today, which always makes for a fun Sunday.
I think what matters most from these games, at least from my perspective, from my notes, is going to be a little bit more micro than it has been macro, I'll say, over the last couple of weeks, because we are in week 11, and where there are plenty of things that matter to these teams every single week, I don't think it's as big of a swing. Like, the records kind of are what they are. We're kind of figuring out, okay, this team's going to make the playoffs. Okay, this team is not. And now it's more of, I'm sort of choosing individual performances, or at least I found myself doing it this week. I'm looking at individual performances one way or the other, whether it's helping them be a playoff team or helping them build in the future or just towards the draft or something that's not working or like whatever it is. I just found it a little bit more in the details than it has been in in weeks past that we've had on the show this season. So I am kind of looking forward to getting into those details a little bit more this week. I do want to say, I kind of want to highlight my college football watching experience this past weekend. I actually got to be at Vanderbilt to watch my alma mater, Florida Gators, lose to Vanderbilt.
I forgot about that.
So here's how my Saturday started, right? I was there to watch Florida lose to Vanderbilt, which the scene in Vanderbilt was really cool. So, honestly, congrats to Vandy. That's a program that Clark Lee, the head coach there, they're working their ass off to create something, and it's hard to climb in the SEC. It just really is. And so salute to him. Salute to that program for everything that they did. Later in the night, Connor, the Lightning just happened to be playing the Nashville Predators that night. So me and my fiance, we go to the Lightning game, but her alma mater, the South Carolina Gamecocks, were playing the Tennessee Volunteers that night on primetime. So we're trying to watch the hockey game, and she's trying to stream the South Carolina game the whole time because obviously they upset Kentucky, so she's watching it the whole time. We get to the point where she has to go watch the game on the concourse at one of the TVs because the Wi-Fi wouldn't work. And I then watched the Lightning win in overtime, and then I just sprinted back out to the concourse to watch South Carolina take down Tennessee. So It was a wild sports weekend for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Sports mayhem for you,
truly,
all at once.
Truly,
sports mayhem. That's awesome though. I mean, especially to kind of piggyback off that, I will be going to my first ever away hockey game where the Rangers are playing. I'll be in Vegas when they're playing the Golden Knights. You, the trip was not planned for that. It'll just happen by coincidence. So I'm very jealous. Nashville's obviously just an incredible place. So at least the Lightning brought you back up after Florida started you down.
They did. Florida was obviously very disappointing, but then the Lightning, I think they scored with 3 minutes left in the third period to tie it up, and then they won in overtime. So it's beautiful. You love to see it. And then, of course, we got to see South Carolina win too. And I love what Shane's doing in South Carolina. So that was fun as well. But anyways, let's get into NFL. Where do you want to start? And I will let you pick where we want to start. Because if you don't want to start with the Jets, because I know we both got takes on the Jets, then we can build up to our takes on the Jets.
We'll build up to the Jets.
Okay.
Oh, man. You want to start with, how about Bears Falcons?
Okay.
We start with. Because the Falcons are still postseason relevant. And
Mhm.
I feel like all of the talk, when you look at the losing teams, the teams that are certainly out of playoff contention, the team that gets magnified the most is the Bears because of Justin Fields and the resurgence he's had after a tough start to the season. So I think this is the place we go. I always start Trevor, and I have a mini Bears take, but I feel like this will be pretty Falcons heavy, so I want to
Mhm.
toss to you.
Okay, so Falcons win this game, very close game, 27-24. Chicago Bears dropped to 3-8 on the year. Obviously, they're a team that's not going to make the playoffs, but they are playing better, which was a lot of fun to see. Justin Fields, man, he does a lot of stuff that it feels like a lot of quarterbacks, even some of the best, like aren't doing right now. His ceiling and his talent level is awesome to watch. Now he doesn't have the complete game, right? When everything is in structure, him putting the ball exactly where it needs to go to, reading the field the way that he needs to, like that stuff is definitely getting better. But we're starting to see the high end talent of what this guy can do every single week. And that's been consistent, I think, over the last month. So that's a lot of fun to see. On the flip side, Falcons now 5-6 on the season after this win. Technically not in first place because the Bucs had the bye this week. And though they have the same amount of wins, the Falcons have one extra loss. So they have a lower win percentage. So they're 5-6. The Bucs are 5-5. But like you said, the Falcons are right there for the postseason. And we didn't think that would be a thing. I don't know. I say I don't know. I kind of do know that the Falcons aren't a real threat in the NFC. Even if they were to make the playoffs, I think that they're still figuring things out. And my thing that matters most with the Falcons is what's going on offense with them. Because in a game in which they won, and I want to make sure that I tip my cap to everything that Arthur Smith is doing, he's winning with a team that is still rebuilding. Like he's winning with a defense that's still rebuilding, with an offense that's still rebuilding. So this team is still a work in progress. So I don't know if this year he's just not able to do the things that he wants to do, or if we're starting to see a trend of what is going to be the Arthur Smith era. And if we are starting to see a trend, Connor, I'm kind of nervous because Marcus Mariota, their quarterback, we know that he's not going to attempt a ton of passes. We know that this team is just ground and pound. That is what their MO is this season. But even when they go to the passing game, I'm a little confused at the usage. They passed the ball 20 times against the Bears to 9 different receivers. You draft Kyle Pitts high. You draft Drake London high. Like, run the passing offense through them. And we're asking that every week. I know fantasy football people have been going crazy all year about Kyle Pitts, and it's just like week after week, they don't do it. They just don't do it. For whatever reason, they don't believe they have a alpha in the passing game to which they can go to all the time. Now, I don't want to be too hard on them, right? The offensive game plan was good enough for them to score 27 points and win the football game. And so I don't want to sound like I'm nitpicking too much here, but you are leaving meat on the bone in the passing game, I think. And I know that Marcus Mariota isn't the best pocket passer out there, not the best pure passer out there. I know he's a dual threat guy, but still, when I watch the Falcons, I find myself wanting more every single week from their stars, and it just doesn't feel like they emphasize those guys. You look at this week again, Kyle Pitts, sure, 5 targets leads the team, but only 5 targets, 3 receptions, 43 yards. Drake London in this game, 3 targets, 1 catch, 2 yards, and a touchdown. So we got the touchdown, which was great in the corner of the end zone. But man, I don't know. I wish they treated one of those 2 guys like a little bit more than like an alpha. That's what I'm looking to see from this team. It just feels like they're holding themselves back a little bit by not getting one of these guys really involved as a focal point now more than halfway through the year. I just don't think that we've seen it a lot.
No, I think it's a really fair take. And I think to piggyback off of that, why it personally frustrates me so much, because you could look at it and go, and this has been Arthur Smith's deflection, understandably, is the whole, famous quote from a couple of weeks into the season. We're not trying to win fantasy football. We're trying to win football games. And credit to Arthur Smith, the Falcons are 5-6. They're 4-2 at home. They're overachieving compared to where a lot of people projected them this year. I personally think if you thought the Falcons were going to be 5-6 at this point in the year, tip of the cap to you. But I think the issue here, Trev, is that you're talking about somebody that's been the head coach of the team now. This is his second year. He had a massive hand in taking a tight end historically high.
Right.
And then he had a massive hand in taking a wide receiver with the 8th overall pick in a draft that was not only a good wide receiver draft, a draft there a lot of teams wanted to move up to get the wide receiver of their choice, and the fact that I think he's good, Drake London, right? Like, I think he's good. I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I'm saying, you go into a fight, right, with your weapons of choice. Arthur Smith walked into a job as an offensive coach, and he got his weapons of choice. He got Kyle Pitts, he got Drake London. And it just feels like he wants the offense to be what you brought up, this spread the ball around. We're a run-heavy team, obviously, and I know Mariota has a lot to do with that. But we are not going to funnel the offense through these threats. And I don't know if that strategy, that's not a painted picture that makes a lot of sense to me personally.
Sure.
I think the Falcons are having a fine season. I think Arthur Smith does a lot of really good things from an offensive coaching standpoint. I just look at this team and go, and maybe this will change with the quarterback, but he also picked Marcus Mariota, right? Like, the whole thing was, Marcus Mariota signed with the Falcons because Arthur Smith relationship. Like, I just want it all linked together for the long-term success of the Falcons. The Drake London panic, to me, I'm not even close to that because he's a rookie, and I really don't think it's his fault. When I watch Drake London play, I'm like, Drake London looks pretty good. The Kyle Pitts thing, to me, though, is reaching a point where I'm like, did you make a mistake? And I'm not blaming Kyle Pitts all the way, but did you make him? Think of the players that you took over. You took Kyle Pitts over. So I definitely think Atlanta has a situation where the reason we're having this combo is not because of that, because that can be figured out. But Atlanta's going to be going into a key offseason where they're going to figure out how and what assets they're going to use to get their quarterback. And I think they just need to kind of chain link this thing all together.
Yeah, just a reminder for people out there. Kyle Pitts went 4 overall. The next handful of players: Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Penei Sewell, J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, Devontae Smith, Justin Fields, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Slater. That was in order, people. That was in order of what went after Kyle Pitts. So obviously, I don't think we're giving up on Kyle Pitts entirely. And you know what? I think there's going to be a theme on this specific episode, and I'm glad that we're starting with the Falcons, actually. So good on you for this, for teeing me up and not even realizing it. There are a couple of teams right now that I think might be making moves and might be under a little bit of unfair criticism, a little bit of unfair pressure because they are overachieving. And I wonder what the Falcons would be doing if they were not in the NFC South race. Like, what if the Falcons were, let's say, 4-7 on the year? Let's just flip one of their wins. Let's say they're 4-7 on the year, and let's say the Buccaneers are 8-3, or like what, or whatever it is. Like, it's not even close. Like, they're
like
not
everyone thought it would go.
Right. Yeah. They're not going to win the NFC South. They're not going to make the wild card. Do things look a little bit different? Because as of right now, it's almost like they have to play the players and they have to do exactly what they think to win games right now. Maybe without it being the best long-term option. I truly wonder if things are a little bit different there. Are we seeing a little bit more passing from Marcus Mariota? And if not, are we seeing Desmond Ridder? And are we seeing a different kind of passing game plan? I don't know. Maybe we're not. Maybe this was the plan all along. Maybe they just went into this year saying, hey, we're going to run the ball because that's what we're good at this year. Next year, we're going to become a lot more balanced. And maybe that's the case. So I don't want anybody listening to this podcast to think that we're hitting the panic button.
No.
It's just something. We're 11 weeks in now. This is a trend. Like, this is not some one-off. This is kind of who the Falcons are. And it's just worth noting, when you draft Kyle Pitts at 4, when you draft Drake London at 8, and then you don't exactly use them like the alphas that they can be, just making us, think about some things. That's all it is. So that was my one thing that matters most.
If you're a Falcons fan, I think the whole point of that rant is your ceiling's a lot higher than what you're seeing.
I think so,
which
too.
Is probably pretty exciting.
They're leaving meat on the bone.
Pretty exciting when you're a 5-win team already that doesn't have your future at quarterback, and your ceiling's higher. And I think that's the more positive outlook that we're trying to paint. One little thing for me on the Bears here, quick, Trev.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got to be really careful with Fields. And I know I did this whole rant with Josh Allen last week, but I think Allen does it to himself a lot, where he breaks off those runs and he's like, I'm going to kill everyone in front of me.
Oh, sure.
The Bears are in the fine line of the designed run game that everybody was screaming at Luke Getsy for is awesome now that they're doing it. There's also, he got sacked 4 times today. I think he had 18 rush attempts. I think he got hit on at least 15 of them. There's a fine line with Fields, and he got hurt in this game. He has a hurt shoulder. They don't know if he's going to be able to play against the Jets.
Didn't he get hurt on a slide too?
I think he was trying to.
I think he was trying to give himself up, and he was like trying to slide, and then he got hit late. He got like hit a little bit late.
They did miss the late hit. I know people are going to yell back at that, but whether that happens or not, I do think there is a fine line they need to figure out of protecting this young quarterback. He's taking on a ton of contact every single week,
sure.
And the team is 3-8. I want his development to continue on the path it's on, and I hope he plays against the Jets. I'm not rooting for Justin Fields to be out that game, but listen, we'll get to the Jets in a bit. That D-line had 6 sacks. I think they've had 5+ last like 3 weeks in a row. They got to be really careful with Justin Fields because he could be a really special player in this league, but his body's taking some crushing blows these first 2 seasons in the NFL.
All right, which game's next? Where are we moving on to? What's now?
All right, let's keep this train rolling here. Let's go Browns-Bills. The game moved to Detroit.
All right, the Bills capture the dub. Both teams on the road, like you said. They moved from Detroit. This is supposed to be a home game for the Bills, but because of insane amounts of snow, they were not able to play this game in Buffalo. Didn't I read that Buffalo is trying to get a new stadium and they also don't want a roof on it?
They do not want a roof. I believe they are. I thought they were set to go without the roof officially.
I don't know if that was officially or whatever, but it seems kind of crazy to me. But I understand why the people of Buffalo would be like,
their brand.
This is our home field advantage, and that's fine. I had no problem with that. But like, obviously,
like it.
I do too. I'm not pushing back on that part of it. But it's like, all right, when you're moving games because of snow, when you're moving games because of weather, I know it's because fans couldn't have got to the game safely. I understand why they moved it, but I'm with all the money in the world, not going to have a retractable roof at least. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking about things I don't know. Okay, Bills, they are 7-3 on the season after this 31-23 victory over the Cleveland Browns. Connor, what stood out to you most? What matters most from this game?
I'll do both sides here real quick for the Bills. Just the fact, impressive for them to rebound. They were coming off of, they're trying to figure things out right here. They were coming off 2 bad weeks, and they had a week of turmoil with the storm. They were literally, the community was digging players out to get them to the team facility to get to the airport and get out of there. So they got the win, and that's just all that matters for Buffalo, no matter how they needed to do it. They started out slow in this game. I think, Dorsey was trying to figure some things out to start this game. They just couldn't get a lot going, and then they figured it out on the ground with Singletary. Allen played smarter in this game. Obviously, we've seen how important Matt Milano is to this defense. They're just a different defense when he's out there. So the Bills is really simple to me, is that they're a pro team that's had that we've been here before mentality. They've faced a lot of adversity the last couple of weeks, including that storm. That is something that is not talked about because it really did put them in a tough spot going into this week. They figured it out. The Browns side, what matters most to me is more player specific. Jacoby Brissett's going to be starting somewhere next year, and good for Jacoby Brissett, man. I'm not saying Jacoby Brissett's a top 8 quarterback in this league, top 10 quarterback in this league. Jacoby Brissett did everything he could in this game to keep the Browns in it. Jacoby Brissett has done an admirable job, honestly, considering the turmoil that he's dealt with this year, obviously taking over that job. They didn't know how long the Watson suspension would be. I think he's done a really, really nice job there, besides the Browns having a wildly disappointing season compared to maybe where they expect that roster to be. But I don't think their problems, I don't sit here every week and go, man, they stink because their starting quarterback's not out there. And Jacoby Brissett, who's on that 1-year deal, he's going to go into a camp next year. I don't know if it'll be as the projected starter, but with every right to sign somewhere where he can compete to have a job.
I feel like at the very least, he could be a guy that you bring in and it's like, okay, we have our starting quarterback, but we don't love the situation. Like, it's not like a franchise
Jets would have
quarterback.
won today with Jacoby Brissett.
There it is. I knew he'd get to the Jets eventually. It bubbled over. There it is. Okay, so
horrible sentence to say. Horrible sentence to say.
Boy, Cleveland. I'm looking at the stats right now. I didn't realize it was this bad. Nick Chubb, 19 yards on 14 carries. Who does that?
Milano back on that field for them. They're just different. You're right though. It is shocking. It is shocking.
Pretty wild. Yeah, my thing that matters most doesn't come from Cleveland. I'm glad that you touched on it because I did want to shout out Jacoby Brissett's day at least. Amari Cooper as well, over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. That connection looked fantastic, and that was
neutral site game for Amari Cooper, not a road game. We know how bad Amari Cooper is on the road. We found the elixir.
Yeah,
neutral site.
Neutral site games. My one thing that mattered most was the play of James Cook today for the Buffalo Bills because
I like that.
I already think that the Bills are a good football team, right? I already think that the Bills are a Super Bowl caliber team. They have the talent on both sides of the ball, especially if they get more healthier when the postseason rolls around. But I do believe that an X factor part of this team will be the speed of James Cook. It's why I absolutely loved the draft pick when it happened this past April or May. Did it technically happen in May? I can't remember. Anyways, whatever day he was drafted during the draft, I absolutely love that selection because of what we saw today. It was a difference-making speed, burst, athleticism that he gives you out of the backfield. And I think that you're seeing him run with a lot more confidence. I feel like he definitely lacked that in the first half of the season. You're seeing that more. I think that that's also the reason why they made the move for Nyheim Hines, right? Because they weren't getting enough of that out of Cook, but they drafted that archetype, that skill set for a reason. And so, it was just great to see it from Cook because not only did he look better out of the backfield, I think Cook could eventually be a great receiving weapon for them. That's what I thought that he did really well at Georgia when they spelled him behind some of these massive dudes like Zamir White, right? And these much bigger backs that I think were handling the early down duties. They'd then go to James Cook on the third down situations and obvious passing down situations. And I thought that he was great at route running. I thought he was great with his hands. So I thought he was a reliable receiver. That's an area that could be an X factor for the Buffalo Bills. I talked about last week how the team speed of the Miami Dolphins is something that just overwhelms teams. And I'll tell you, man, if you get one of James Cook or Nyheim Hines really going out of the backfield, then all of a sudden that is a speed element that you are adding to a team that's just making you harder to defend. So the James Cook performance this week, really nice to see. I think it was a career high in a lot of ways, career high in carries, career high in yards, 11 carries, 86 yards. Still only played about 25% of the snaps, I believe I saw. So the usage wasn't a ton, but he made the most of it. Now, I just feel like every time that he's on the field, it demands a speed element of defense that you just have to pay attention to. So if he gets rolling, that's a really nice X factor for the Bills as they keep moving.
Man, and that's what they were hoping for when they drafted him, right?
100%,
it's exactly what we saw today, and it's been a little bit of a slow acclimation, but a very, very important one. And I know they've been working Nyheim Hines on special teams as well. Nyheim Hines had a 28-yard punt return in this game that you're improving on the margins with trades like that. Little things. The NFL trade deadline, you don't have to make the Christian McCaffrey move. You make a move that guy maybe makes a play for you on specials or as a third down back or whatever it may be. So I think, obviously Buffalo fans are pretty happy to see that one. One last note, Tyler Bass, 6 of 6 on field goals in this game. So just a huge special teams day for the Bills. All right, let's keep this moving. We have a lot of games to get through. Let's do Eagles Colts here. Jeff Saturday almost remained undefeated, but came up just short as the Eagles moved to 9-1 with 14 fourth quarter points after only 3 points in the first 3 quarters. Trevor, what mattered for you in this one?
When I look at the Eagles, this is a team that is diverse in a lot of ways. And this was definitely a fight, scratch, claw victory that they had up until the very end, as we saw with Jalen Hurts having to scamper into the end zone at the end there to put them ahead on the scoreboard. But my biggest takeaway and what matters most is I think the Eagles are just they just have so much diverse talent. They could beat you in so many different ways on offense that eventually they're going to score points. I don't think this Eagles team is a team that you're really going to keep below 15 points in a single given week. And I don't mean to put on the curse and then they lay an egg next week or anything like that. But Hurts has proven already this season that he can beat you with his arm, that he can hit you with guys deep down the field, whether it's A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith or Quez Watkins or Dallas Goedert when he's healthy. I know he wasn't healthy in this one, but we've seen him beat people with his arms this year. And then we've also seen, hey, when he's not having the best day throwing, all right, get him involved with the running game. We've seen him and Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, and guys like that out of the backfield. And behind this offensive line, there are just so many different things that this Eagles offense can do. It feels like it's just a matter of time before they really figure it out and are able to do things like they did at the very end of the game here in Indianapolis, which is march down the field, have a really methodical drive that controlled the clock once they got into that situation and they realized, hey, we're kind of moving here. We need to score a touchdown, but we need to score a touchdown with not a ton of time left on the clock, because if we score, the best that we can do, even if we go for 2, is only be up by 2 points. So I thought they did a great job of executing that down the stretch once they kind of realized they needed to lock in and make it happen. So this Eagles offense, I do have a lot of faith in them. I have a lot of faith in Jalen Hurts. And that's just kind of the way that I saw the game. For the Colts, they scored on the opening drive, and then honestly, there wasn't a lot that happened after that. There really wasn't. I think that they marched down and they had a really good first drive, but then after that, they really weren't able to do much. And I think that's the ultimate reason why they don't get the victory in this one. So what matters most from me is the fact that the Eagles won another game, and they won it in a way that we've been waiting to see, right? Close, down on the scoreboard. You got to come back, game on the line, have a drive of your life here. And they were able to do it this week. So that was that. Seeing all of that is what matters most to me for a team that does still have Super Bowl aspirations.
For me, it was Linval Joseph coming off the street and making an impact right away. And I know Ndamukong Suh, whoa, haven't said that name in a while, also played right away and was fine. Absolutely. These guys together, they made a difference. And when you look at Joseph, signed off the street, plays 24 snaps. He graded out very highly, obviously, in our database, and made some plays against the run, made some of the dirty work plays against the run, not necessarily always making the stop, but controlling his gaps, looked to be ready to roll. There was no rust there. So I was very, very impressed with the Eagles D-line additions that, I mean, we knew, I don't want to call them panic moves. They were reactionary moves. They looked at what happened to them a couple of days ago and they said, we got to improve this. Right. There are low cost options. These are no risk options. And Linval Joseph, man, he was ready to go, as well as Suh. Yep. All right. I didn't have anything for the Colts. If you did, you didn't, really didn't. They're Colts fans. You're the Stock Watch show. That's where that's what I think they are. Yeah. Okay. So we'll stay in order here. Jets, Pats. Oh boy. I mean, you want to start or you want me to start?
No, you come on, but you have to start. So I'll just say the score. I'll set you up for it.
Thanks.
Patriots win this game at the truly very last seconds, 10-3. Jets now 6-4 on the season. Patriots also 6-4 on the season. This is an extremely tight division. Unfortunately for Jets fans, this game meant a lot for a lot of different reasons. Connor, I'll ask you first before we get into what matters most, which is probably Zach Wilson talk. Was it a block in the back? You tell me. Was it a block in the back at the end?
It was, but they still deserve to lose. So there's your fair and honest take.
I also think that it was a block in the back.
I thought it was like a very clear as day block in the back, but I wasn't even I wasn't even yelling about it.
I don't know. I don't know who it was that got blocked.
I saw 2. Hardy was the one at the end where if they called it, the Pats would have had a shot at a field goal. I thought there was one on the initial beginning of the return that was kind of so-so. That would have changed everything, but it's just
the one at the end.
Jets were never scoring.
I do think was a block in the back, but I'm not sure Hardy is who it was. You said,
yeah.
I'm not sure he catches Jones, because he comes flying off the screen, and I know he had a burst of speed then, but he was still a little bit away from Jones, and so I'm not sure.
It was idiotic. There was no need to block him in the back.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it was dumb. He had no chance.
I wonder if that's just why they didn't throw the flag, because and not that that's right. Not that that's right.
No, that doesn't make sense.
You're right. You're not supposed to do that. But I wondered if they were he wasn't going to catch him, so it doesn't matter. Anyways, all right. I
think the refs had enough, just like all of us, of watching that mess. I really do.
So what mattered most? You tell me.
That what matters most, the most nuanced way, rather than me sitting here saying What matters most is Zach Wilson sucks, or what matters most is like the Jets can't go anywhere with him. What matters most is the Jets defense, and maybe even team in a sense, but mostly defense, are a lot further along than they thought they would be.
Mm-hmm.
And now they are so hamstrung and anchored down by the developmental process of a quarterback that is not developing. And I just think they are torn. I think they're torn. I think they're looking at the season. I mean, I know what I would do, but they're looking at the season and the defense is, I really mean this. I think they're championship worthy, the defense. And that doesn't mean you're a Super Bowl contender. That doesn't mean you're going to the AFC title game. That just means that you have a defense that is a championship worthy defense. That's how good they are. They had 6 sacks today. The D-line does that every week. They have 2 excellent corners. They have the defensive rookie of the year. They have CJ Mosley in the middle of the field. They're a really good defense. It doesn't matter if your offense, and what makes it more impressive for those that don't watch the Jets or didn't watch this game, I do not blame you, is the positions they are put in because of how bad the quarterback backing was today. They are on the field 8 million times a game. They are put in bad field position, all of these things. And now the Jets are in a spot where the regime drafted the quarterback number 2 overall. Mm-hmm. His consistency is not improving. His variance week to week is all over the place. And they have a lot of skill talent that I think looks good on film. Garrett Wilson, Mims has been okay, but we know Elijah Moore should be better. And a lot of that falls on the offense and the quarterback and all these things. And the problem is the fact this game, they didn't even look to Mike White in the fourth quarter. You can go to Mike White and you could still go back to Zach Wilson next week. You can do that. That's the ebbs and flows of developing a young quarterback when you are contending to win your division. People that don't know, if the Jets won this game, they are in first place in the AFC East. First place. 7 wins, 7-3. And all they had to do is split with New England.
I don't mean to like bring it up like this, but like the margin is so slim that aren't they in last now?
They're in last. They are in last.
It's crazy. That's crazy.
100%.
That's
no,
crazy.
I'm glad you brought that up because that emphasizes the point of how important this game was.
Right.
And they could not get a first down in the second half, Trevor. A first down. And listen, I've defended Zach Wilson a lot because I defend pretty much every quarterback going through the developmental process the first at least 2 years. It's just not fair to be any other way.
Mm-hmm.
But one, his accountability after the game was horrific, saying that he wouldn't shoulder the blame, that the offense shouldn't shoulder the blame. You're going to lose the defense when you do that. I don't even know where. I won't even go down that road. It's just the fact that
you're saying he should have said that.
It's such an easy layup. It's such an easy. All he said was no. Dude, come on.
That's what matters most to me. That's
accountability.
That's what matters most to me. Is
why stick by him if that's how he is.
I wanted to come at this because this was my take. This is what I wrote down.
Yeah, I want yours more than mine because I've been talking about this for the last 6 hours and I want to make sure I'm not insane. Like I'm not going to be put in a straitjacket and sat in a dark room.
So no, I think we're I don't think we're going to be doing that. But look, I'm with you with the developmental quarterback thing, right? I think that we want to put quarterback development in a microwave, and it's much more of a crock pot, right? We want things to happen instantly, and it's just for a lot of guys, it just happens over time. Like it's not something that's able to come and play right away. We always point to these guys that can really step in, and all of a sudden they're brilliant. We go, well, why can't everybody do that? And it's like, no, you got to be able to celebrate the guys that are able to step on the field early in their NFL careers and produce without holding an unrealistic standard to other guys that might be able to do the same thing, right? Zach Wilson, we always knew that there would be a learning curve. That BYU offense was a fairy tale. It was fake. It really was, whether it was the offensive line, whether it was the receivers that he was throwing to, whether it was the schedule that BYU had, it was fake. So we all knew that there was going to be a big time adjustment, but you love the mobility, you love the gunslinger mentality, you love the big arm that came with him when you were drafting him. The biggest issue to me is the maturity. Yep. And I always feel really weird calling somebody out personally, but
Yeah, I agree.
I've noticed multiple times now. Zach Wilson sitting up at the podium, lost to the Patriots earlier in the year. Like, do you take blame for this? No, but I need to play better. Okay. You should say yes, you take part of the blame because you guys lost and you're the quarterback and you're the leader and you're the one who's at the podium. Yes, you should take accountability for your part in the loss. Today, do you think you let the defense down? No. One word answer. Move on to the next question. Buddy, come on. The defense allowed 3 points today. 3. You couldn't score more than 3 points. Did you let the defense down? You damn right I let the defense down. You know who would say that? Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. Basically, any quarterback that wants to be a franchise quarterback would tell you, yes, I let the team down. Zach said a one-word answer. No. Buddy, come on. There's so much more to playing quarterback than just the good things you do on the field. You have to represent everybody. And is that unrealistic sometimes? Yes, it absolutely is. But that is the job that you signed up for. And you got to handle it better than that. You have to handle it better than that. Honestly, the number one thing for me this entire season that I want to see from Zach Wilson, I don't care if he, obviously you want him to improve on the field, but that stuff, he is talented for that stuff to get better. But the immaturity that he shows at the podium tells me that the immaturity is still going to exist in his game on the field. That's where I am with Zach Wilson, man. And I just wish it was different. Because it's disappointing. That's all that it is. And I'm not a Jets fan. I don't have any skin in this game. But it's disappointing to see a player as talented as Zach not be able to take responsibility the way that you need to be a leader of the team, to be a growing franchise quarterback, all that kinds of stuff. So everybody's going to talk about the stats. The stats were bad. The game was bad. The performance was bad. And he got up there at the podium and didn't take accountability, it felt like, for any of it. And it's not the first time that he's done that this year either. So am I worried about Zach Wilson as a franchise quarterback? Oh. Yes. I'm worried about Zach Wilson as a franchise quarterback. But it has a lot less to do with the struggles that I see on the field, because I've seen even great quarterbacks struggle with that kinds of stuff early on. And I'm a lot more worried about how he's approaching everything else, and that being what shows up on the field as well. So that's kind of where I am with Wilson.
I agree. I think it's the cliche of you can learn a lot about somebody when they're at their lowest, not when they're at their highest. It's easy to lead. And it's easy to get everybody to believe in you when everything's going well. But when you're down and out and you just can't find anything working your way that day, that's what really speaks volumes of your character. And I mean, if I was on that team right now, watching that, knowing how the game went, and then watching that press conference, and I'm assuming it translates to the locker room, and it's been, like you said, Trevor, and you've done your homework, it's been a consistent theme. It's all I need to see. It's all I need. Part of developing as a franchise quarterback in this league is not just winning games, is not just filling up the stat sheet, is not just being a favorite in fantasy football. It is getting your teammates, grown men, in a high-stakes game with fortunes on the line and pride on the line and winning on the line. Those things, winning and pride and results, all tie back to the fortunes they can make to follow you.
Yeah.
To follow you. And
right.
I don't, like you said, we're trying not to make this personal, trying not to be harsh. It's just, Zach Wilson deserves the criticism today.
It's hard to watch from the outside. And I'll say, right before we move on to the next game, I will say that the Jets are one of those teams that I was mentioning earlier in the podcast, where they are, I will say, overachieving. Now, I don't mean that to say like, this is not a sustainable level, this current Jets team shouldn't be winning, but them as a team competing where they are for the playoff spot that they're currently competing for. You said they win this game, they're at the top of the division. They're at the top of the division with the Dolphins, with the Browns, and with Bill Belichick, right? And so where I thought the Jets would be making progress, where they are in the win column is also putting a lot more pressure and eyeballs on where they currently are, when in reality, if you take a step back, you go, okay, they should have been better this year, but like, don't hold the Jets to this division leading kind of a standard. And I think your picture of where the Jets are and where they're going can be a lot more healthy and encouraging, and you can see a lot more of it there. So I wanted to just say that with the Jets too. You know, we're obviously harsh on the quarterback because I think it's warranted, but Jets are still in a great spot and they're going in the right direction, and they're playing even better this year than I thought they were going to. So we can move on to the next one though, if you want to. Do you have any final words? Or you want to go on to the next one?
No, I mean, New England's defense played well, and obviously there was a reason why Marcus Jones is one of the greatest return man prospects we've ever evaluated. So I want to give him some love. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's just the Jets have answered so many of their problems that have plagued them for the last 10 years, but now it's in a vacuum of the one big one is still left. And that's quarterback.
Picking up the pace a little bit.
Yeah.
Panthers, Ravens. Ravens end up winning this game at the very
end. What a transition. What the hell was this game?
I don't know, dude. This was 3. Well, I guess I do know. This Panthers defense is
They're feisty.
It's a good unit, right? We've talked about this so many times in this podcast. If the Panthers lose enough games to where they get themselves Bryce Young, this is a legitimate NFL team in 2 years. Like, this rebuild is fast. You get if you get Bryce Young this offseason, and you have some pretty good, we hope some pretty good draft picks after Bryce Young this draft, and then you go into next offseason as well, you continue to invest in the offensive side of the football. You got a great young defense who's playing stingy. They're playing so well. You get a motivated head coach who knows what they're doing in there. All of a sudden, man, this team can come alive. And I think that we saw the defensive side of that against the Ravens. This was a 3-3 ball game going into the fourth quarter. And then the Ravens kind of swung their way as you would have expected it would have. But 13-3, the final score here. Panthers 3-8, and honestly 3-8 on the season. And then the Ravens are 7-3. My big takeaway, my thing that matters most is I need the Carolina Panthers to not win another football game this year. I need that for the Carolina Panthers here. The Raiders won, which means Carolina is currently picking second in the draft order, not to spoil our next podcast or anything, but Carolina currently has that number 2 overall spot in the NFL draft. They need it. They need it badly. And they're one of those rare teams that has things going for them. They're not a dumpster fire. This doesn't have to be a super long rebuild, but you can't get pick number 5. You can't get pick number 4. You've got to get pick number 1 or 2. You got to be able to get a quarterback. You got to be able to nail it. So that was what matters most. I loved seeing Carolina continue to be competitive. But let's be careful now. They got the 25th. They got one of the easiest schedules in the NFL remaining. And so I don't know if they're going to go winless throughout because especially of how well this defense is playing. But just for Carolina fans out there, I'd love to see them lose every game. And not to rub it in your face, but so you get a franchise quarterback, because this could be a really nice team a couple years from now if they end up getting a top 2 pick in this upcoming draft.
If they win 2 more games, they could be like out of the top 10. That's what's so insane about this draft.
If they win 2 more games, all of a sudden they're picking like 13th.
I know. And the thing is, like you said with that defense.
That's why the Colts are screwed.
I know they are.
Colts win 1 more game and like, all of a sudden, you got to mortgage your future to go up and get a quarterback.
I mean, Steve Wilkes is out here like every week's the Super Bowl right now for Carolina, and good for him, man.
And he's happy to be back in Carolina. So you know, I don't want to. I don't even mean to say. It's always weird when I say stuff like that because obviously I'm wishing the best for Wilkes.
Well, but we're a draft pod, so we kind of keep it real with that. Where I mean,
Carolina has to get a quarterback. They have to get a quarterback. Did you watch Baker Mayfield today? It wasn't pretty. Dude, it's not going to be pretty. It's never going to be pretty.
And they can't keep doing the veteran reclamation project thing that we always talk about.
Can't do it. So anyway,
Baltimore defense looked great. I mean, Kyle Hamilton seemed like he actually is kind of coming along.
He is.
Had a good game.
Got a little banged up.
Patrick Queen running around making plays. I know he's had a tough start to his career there in the early goings. But...
yeah, but last 2 games specifically, really since they traded for Roquan, with those 2 dudes on the field, Patrick Queen, I looked it up, last 2 weeks specifically, he had an 85.5 grade overall last week. He had a 90.5 overall grade this week. He had so many solo stops. He was a big-time playmaker of the backfield.
10.
And back-to-back weeks, Connor. 73 grade in coverage. My guy's out here improving in coverage, too. The Roquan Smith edition and what it has meant for Patrick Queen has been a lot of fun to watch over the last 2 weeks.
It's awesome.
So glad you brought that up.
Yeah, man. Had to give him a shout. Had a huge game. 10 solo stops. All right. Awesome. Lions-Giants. A game that finished up 31-18 was not very close. It was 24-6 going into the fourth quarter. The Lions traveled to MetLife and were just ready to rock. Man, I'm so excited for Lions-Bills on Thanksgiving. I can't believe that's a real sentence out of my mouth. I can't wait for it. But this game, I hate to always do the glass half full outlook. The Lions deserve all their flowers in this one. I don't want to take away from that. And I know you're going to talk about them a little bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants, for as magical of a debut season Daboll's had, this was, I think, the thing we've all been in our heads wondering, what's going to happen when the Giants have to play on a throwing script, playing from behind? Is Daniel Jones going to make those mistakes we're so used to seeing him make, or can he keep playing this Alex Smith Chiefs brand of football, I think, right? To start the year, something like that. He's been playing using his legs. He's been very smart with the pass game. And he just made mistakes today that you were kind of worried about that shoe dropping. And for the Giants, I think, I don't want to say this is the pathway to beating the Giants, but I think it just kind of showed some of the holes that when they can't get Saquon Barkley going on the ground, he ultimately ends up with 15 carries for 22 yards. He really had nothing at the half, obviously, with the day he finished with.
Mm-hmm.
They were really, really trying, couldn't get anything going. This is going to be kind of where the Giants are limited at that point, and it just makes me wonder what the offseason looks like for them in terms of extending Daniel Jones or finding your young quarterback or trying to do both at once, because I think Daboll knows this offense has a much higher ceiling.
Yeah. I just don't think the Giants have the horses on offense. I just really don't think
that's a fair statement. I don't think they think that.
Daniel Jones wasn't the worst today. Obviously, he had the turnovers and that hurts, but you look at Saquon Barkley's stats. He had 15 attempts for 22 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, him and Nick Chubb somehow got incredibly bottled up. By the way, I'm looking at the full stat sheet now between both teams, and they for Jamal Williams, they have it JA.Williams. And my heart dropped because I was like, did Jameson play today?
Nobody talked about it.
Did Jameson play and I completely missed it? What? No, but that's Jamal. Jamal Williams, not Jameson Williams. Not yet. When I look at the Giants, I wanted to go back to their schedule. This is their schedule that they've had so far. Win over the Titans, week 1. Titans kind of blew it at the end. Probably should have won that game, if we're being honest. Then they beat the Panthers. Then they get beat by the Cowboys. Then they beat the Bears, beat the Packers, beat the Ravens, beat the Jags, lose to the Seahawks, beat the Texans, lose to the Lions. I know that the Giants have the record to be in it and to technically be a playoff contender and to make the playoffs.
7-3 already.
They have not beaten a good offense yet. They have not been challenged yet. I would tell you the only offense that they have beaten that is in the top 10 in the NFL is the Ravens. Bears, when they beat the Bears, putrid. You do not get to count that game. They were awful when they played the Bears. So that one does not count at all. They played a top 10 offense in the Cowboys, lost. Played a top 10 offense in the Seahawks, lost.
That was Cooper Rush too, not Dak.
And it's like, okay, you beat the Jags, you beat the Texans, you beat the awful Bears, you beat a Packers team that we know now is one of the worst offenses in the NFL. You beat the Panthers, which while they had Matt Rule and were terrible, and you beat the Titans. And again, you probably shouldn't have beaten the Titans. It was a coin flip. The Giants are one of these teams that I just want to make sure that people don't get carried away with. The Giants are having a good season. They are having a better season in the win column than the talent on their team deserves
by about 4 wins.
Right. And so I don't mean to come on here and be a massive hater of the Giants, but let's just recalibrate. And what matters most to me is let's recalibrate where the Giants currently are. Don't look at the record of the Giants and say, give the Giants respect like you give the Cowboys respect, right? Do they have the same record right now? Are they both 7-3?
I believe so.
Let's see.
The Cowboys have 8 wins? No, because they lost to Green Bay.
Giants are 7-3.
We're both furiously Googling the standings.
And then the Cowboys are
they're both 7-3.
They're both 7-3.
But the Cowboys have the tiebreaker, of course.
But here's my point. The Cowboys are so much further along as a team. They are a legitimate shot to win the NFC. The Giants are not. They are not there as a team. They have the exact same record. They're not in the same spot as a team. I don't believe that. I do not believe that that's the case.
Oh no. And I think Giants fans would say that.
Dude, there's a lot of Giants fans that are extremely into this season. I'm just saying. I like where the Giants are going.
New York football's been down bad, brother.
Love Brian with him. Love Brian Daboll. Like what Joe Shane's doing. Hate the fact that for whatever reason they couldn't figure out with Kadarius Toney because I feel like that was not great. But minus that move, I like where the Giants are going. Let's just be honest. Let's be honest about what this team is. Once they get in a shootout with some of the better passing teams in the NFC, they're not going to be able to have the firepower to match it. And that ultimately, as we have been having this Daniel Jones conversation all year long, what do you do with Daniel Jones? Are they going to get Daniel Jones back? Are they going to keep Daniel Jones? To me, no. Now, was he the biggest problem today? No, I don't think so. But ultimately, I think you need a quarterback that still gives you more, that allows you to develop a better game plan week in and week out, that has a larger margin for error, that when things don't go well, you can lean on them more and have more consistency when it comes to comeback and winning games. So that's where the Giants are. That's my thing that matters most.
For the Lions, shout out to the young beefy king, Aleem McNeil. All 6'2", 325 of him.
Yeah.
My man rocked out as a pass rusher today. 1 sack, 2 more quarterback hits, 4 more quarterback hurries. My goodness, man. 7 pass rushes total. He was a force. He was a force. All right, shout out to Aleem McNeil.
What do we got? 4. I think we got like 4 more games left, but before we get to that, I got to talk to you about our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. They're our go-to when we're betting on the NFL this holiday season. I love the player props, right? We talk about player props all the time on this show. We talk about it all the time over at PFF. We've got the PFF Green Line tool over on the website where you can check out the best bets. And often, guys, the best bets that you're going to find every single week are player props. So you can see it on Green Line, and then you can go over to DraftKings and you can make a lot of money that way. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and you get $150 in free bets if you do. Check this out. Right now, everybody can earn up to 100% boosting with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and place a same game parlay and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, point totals, all that stuff and more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win it big. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code PFF. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. And if you use the promo code PFF, minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Also want to talk to you guys about our pals over at No House Advantage. They're changing the game by offering you the most dynamic fantasy platform available today. You can play in pick'em contests versus other people for a shot at winning $250,000 in cash. Download the app, choose a contest, select your player props, and earn points for correct picks. Climb the leaderboard, and you get your shot to win big money every single day. You can also test your skills versus the house and 20 times your entry if you hit all your picks. Bet on up to 5 player props. See, there you go. Player props again. Just go over to PFF Greenlight. You can see all the player props. Or individual player matchups in every major sporting league, including the NFL, NBA, PGA, MLB, MMA, and even NASCAR. Sign up, use the promo code STOCK, STOCK, at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app in the App Store to get your first deposit match up to $25. Make sure you check out No House Advantage today and experience daily fantasy sports redefined, because it's not just about how you play, but where you play, and you guys won't want to miss out on this. Connor, what's next?
Next is a game where I'm going to put you on a 30-second timer. I'm sorry I have to do this, but okay. Rams Saints. I mean, not putting you on a timer. I'm trying to put us on a timer.
Okay.
If you, I know. Actually, I know where you want to go, so I'm not going to, hijack it here. Go ahead.
Chris Olave.
Hell yeah.
Is a stud. Third 100-yard game of the season, led the team in first down targets, caught 100% of his catchable passes. He's a stud. He's a wide receiver one.
From Andy Dalton, by the way. I mean, imagine Chris Olave, it's just Chris Olave is really good.
If Jameis is playing, we're getting 250 for Chris Olave every single week. There's no doubt about it.
8,000 air yards a week.
Dude, I loved Chris Olave coming out of the draft. I did not think Chris Olave was going to all of a sudden become this stud contested catch receiver. He's awesome.
He looks better than I expected away.
The route running, the smoothness, setting guys up, the wide receiver intelligence, the speed down the field to hit intermediate and deep, all of that was clearly in his Ohio State tape. And not that he didn't have contested catches down the field. He definitely did. But he's like this contested catch monster now. It's the success that he's having with very little space is amazing. He's showing that he is a true wide receiver one developing in this league. These are stats from Next Gen Stats. Olave caught all three of his targets in the intermediate area of the field, which is 10 to 19 air yards for 44 yards in week 11. Olave also has a league high 5.3 receptions over expectation on the intermediate targets this season, 25 receptions, which is tied for first with Jalen Waddle. Last thing I will say, I just read today that his nickname is Nolave, as in Nola, Nola, capital. So it's just you're adding the N in front of it. So instead of Olave, it's Nolave, and that's amazing. I just wanted to point it out on the show. It's an incredible nickname.
It's doing the most, but it's very good. It's very good.
No hate from me. You're getting no hate from me. No, it's not happening. It's not happening.
I would say Rams welcome to draft season, but you traded your draft pick.
They stink.
10. So you don't get welcome to draft season unless we do your mock draft for pick 37. All right. No, we did Panthers, Ravens, Commanders, Texans. Whoa.
Okay.
I actually am going to tie these together. My take is I didn't even do one from the other game, is that I actually love Olave's value as offensive rookie of the year right now because Dameon Pierce, besides having a rough game, they are going to finally start to limit Dameon Pierce's usage because there's just no point in running him into the ground.
He had 8 yards on 10 carries?
Yeah, nothing cooking there.
Nothing
cooking there.
Jack Del Rio's in his bag.
We're one more bad Ken Walker week away from Olave being a massive, massive swing in value. He's been around plus 1,400, plus 800 between that leg.
Yeah.
So I know people are going to be like, well, don't buy Olave now because he's coming off a huge week. I actually counter that point and think this Olave is going to be for real. And if that value stays above plus 500, sprinkle a little bit. So that's my take from both of those games combined.
Okay.
And Jonathan Allen's a beast.
Look, Washington's defensive line is absolutely
without Chase Young so far.
Hooking right now. You love to see that. So Washington's defense is playing as well as they thought we were going to play 2 years ago, right? And then they're playing as well as we thought they were going to play last year. And now it's finally just it's very much click. Okay, all right. I'm trying.
Hey, Bryce Young's going to be a Texan. That's great.
I'm trying to give Washington credit before I take him down a peg. I don't know.
Build him down.
I don't know where Sam Howell is in his development because, as we just talked about with Zach Wilson, sometimes guys just aren't ready. And I don't know where Sam Howell is right now. If Howell is ready-ish, I wish Washington would give him a look. Now, I am fully aware that Washington is 5-1 in their last 6. And that one loss was to the Minnesota Vikings, which could have very well been another win. So since Taylor Heinicke has become their starting quarterback, they have rallied around him. He is fun as hell, and he
drinks Busch Light, buys sneakers. I like him.
He gives you this crazy energy that everybody buys into. We talked to Ron Rivera actually on the It's Just Football show last week, and Mike Renner just straight up asked him, like, "Hey, what goes through your head when Taylor Heinicke just bails from the pocket and starts to do stuff?" And Rivera's just laughing, and he goes,
"I love starts to do stuff." That's
Rivera,
so good.
Rivera just started laughing, and he's like, "My immediate thought is just, well, here we go." And like, that's kind of like what it is for Heinicke. And it's very fun for us to watch, but it's not the future for Washington. Right. And when you look at Heinicke, again, I don't mean to be this downer, but this season alone, he's got 3 big time throws, 11 turnover worthy plays. Like it's an egregious ratio in the wrong direction. Only game where he's had a passing grade above 70. Actually, I can't even remember what the one was, but he's only got only one game where he's been above 70 as a passer. I understand why he's in there. I understand why Ron Rivera won't commit to Carson Wentz over him, because, you're on a hot streak and you're sitting here where this entire division might even make the playoffs. But again, this is another team where you're overachieving in the win column a little bit. So you're doing things in the short term, almost like Band-Aids, instead of the things that might be, eating your vegetables, if you will, the long-term growth. I wish they'd give Sam Howell a chance, because I don't think Taylor Heinicke can be the long-term starter there. I don't think Carson Wentz is going to be the long-term starter there either. Maybe Sam Howell is, but I understand that what I'm asking is unrealistic. So my kind of what matters most is, this is fun for Washington, but unless the defense is holding teams to like 10 points every single week, I'm not so sure that I don't know how many more wins are going to be cascading towards their way. So I feel so negative now that I said that, but I don't know how else to have a take about this game other than Heinicke's fun, but mother of God, it's going to come back around and bite them at some point.
John Ridgway pulling off the last ride by The Undertaker on Dameon Pierce was one of the craziest things I've seen in an NFL game all year.
Thought it was almost more of a Batista bomb.
It probably was.
Almost. But it was a WWE move, no doubt about it.
Good sell by Dameon Pierce. It had it all. I mean, he full sell. Oh, man, I keep watching it over and over again.
He went for the Intercontinental title, dude. That's what he was going for.
Yeah. All right. Moving along here, we got Raiders Broncos.
Okay.
In a battle of
Raiders played themselves. You congratulations, you played yourself. Congratulations. That's where we are. Raiders are now picking 4th. They're not picking 2nd. What are you doing?
And it could get much worse.
And it can get much worse, because the Rams aren't going to win many more games. Denver ain't going to win many more games. I don't know, man. No. It's tough. My actual
tough game to digest.
My
to be
actual
completely honest.
One thing that matters most is Max Crosby.
Oh, I like that.
Dude should get votes for Defensive Player of the Year. Hey, I don't know if he's going to. He's a complete afterthought, but he's having an unbelievable season. He had a forced fumble and a blocked field goal on back-to-back plays. He's got so many pressures. He feels like he's doing it all by himself.
Jalen Jones is not giving them anything.
No, he is truly not giving them anything. And Max Crosby just continues to eat, no matter what side of the line he's rushing from. He had a sack on Russell Wilson today, which was just filthy from an inside spin move. And it's just like, that's the dude who led the NFL in pressures last year. He is still there. He is still showing up. For as bad as the Raiders are, for as much as we talk, we have to talk negatively about what's going on within that organization, top to bottom. Max Crosby is a shining star. He has not gone anywhere. Yep. He has been one of the best defensive players in the NFL this season.
I love that shout. Crosby's been one of the best defensive players in the NFL the last 2 years. He was a pressure machine last year. 25 years old. He just turned 25 at the end of training camp this year. So a young guy who's been through a lot. I know he's been very vocal about his journey, and he's a star for them. And don't get it twisted. I think what I do kind of wonder here, Trevor, we always try to paint the long game picture here because it's a very team building related podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about how Josh McDaniels might not be going anywhere, and they're going to try to give this regime more time, and they don't want to be paying a million different guys that aren't working for them. I wonder if there's a scenario that Carr and Devontae Adams doing this can play themselves into both being part of next year, whatever that turnaround looks like. To me, I look at the Raiders and go, Derek Carr is going to be somewhere else next year. And honestly, I think he should be. I think it's time for Derek Carr to go somewhere else and maybe, find a better spot for him. And if the Raiders kind of dedicate more assets and time to a young quarterback they're developing for the future. The Devontae Adams thing is the one thing I can't get out of my mind. When I know their relationship, I watched them play. I'm like, is that a reason why they do try to run this back? Ultimately, I think Carr plays somewhere else next year. I think he's somebody that carries a little bit of trade value. They could cut him if they need to, whatever it is. But it's just something that's been on my mind that I'm trying to figure out with this franchise.
The thing is that I don't think you can put Carr on the cap for $35 million next year. You can't, not from how he played this year. So
no,
the only way that you could move money around is what? Extend him? You're not going to extend him.
No. So and why would he agree? Why would he agree to lower the cap hit?
So I agree with you.
He should not.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Because somebody else would trade. Somebody else, if they didn't trade for that number, would trade for a reworked number in a place that maybe he'd be excited to go to. I'm just spitballing. I find both teams very difficult to figure out personally.
Well, they're both bad, so we'll figure.
But they shouldn't be. That's the issue.
Yeah, we'll figure it out for them this offseason. Those will be two of the most fascinating teams that we will follow this offseason for sure. Dallas Cowboys ended up beating the Minnesota Vikings.
Beat the brakes off them, dude.
I read that it was the worst Vikings loss at home since like 1965 or something crazy like that. Wild. 40-3 was the final score here. Kirk Cousins was 12 for 23 for 105 passing yards. Dalvin Cook actually ran well, 11 attempts, 72 yards, 6.5 yards per carry. Justin Jefferson didn't do anything in this game. 3 receptions, 33 yards. TJ Hawkinson led the team with 5 receptions, 34 yards. They just couldn't get anything going, man. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, my one thing that mattered most is, I know I came on this podcast last week and said that, like, I don't legitimately think the Cowboys are I don't consider them the best team in the NFC. I really don't. But maybe I do need to revise that a little bit, because when Dak is playing the way that he is, Dak reminded me of how great of a quarterback he is this week against a good Vikings defense. And when Dak plays the way that he did, this Cowboys team can compete with anybody in this conference. They really can. I don't know if they're Super Bowl caliber, but they can compete with anybody in the NFC. That's for sure. Dak was 22 for 25 this week, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Tony Pollard, man, unbelievable. Led this team in receiving, 6 targets, 6 receptions, 109 yards, 2 receiving TDs. Also had 15 carries, 80 yards, 5.3 yards per carry average. He's becoming an unbelievable playmaker, and you love to see that. Then, of course, like the defense just continuing to get after it. This is one of the best defensive lines in football. Micah Parsons had another fantastic day, but so did Kirsch, so did Armstrong, so did Williams towards the end, where they were getting him some extra reps.
Dante Fowler in the mix.
Fowler getting in the sack column. DeMarcus Lawrence had another sack too. So it's just, this is a really good Cowboys team. And I might have been a little bit of a fool saying that they weren't more of contenders than I think that they probably can be. And Dak and that offense definitely reminded me today of what it can look like when it's all clicking for the Cowboys.
Let me say this. I'll trail. What matters most from this game might be that this is where Odell Beckham should go. This is where Odell Beckham should go sign.
It is where Odell should probably go.
If the reports are true that he's down to the Giants and the Cowboys and he's taking visits very shortly to those two teams.
Is it really the Giants and the Cowboys?
Yeah, I saw that today. I didn't get
why would he go to the Giants?
I mean, I don't know if there's some legacy feelings there or comfort feelings there.
Maybe.
Hopefully I didn't get this person is verified because they bought Twitter Blued.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure. No, yeah. Verified PFF, actually. It's from Rappaport.
Okay. All right.
He plans to visit the Cowboys and the Giants after Thanksgiving. I mean,
yeah.
Trevor, like what?
Why would he go to the Giants? Why would he go to the Giants?
What is there to decide here? And I think for the Cowboys, this is a statement win that's really important, because I look at the Cowboys, and this show obviously loves Tony Pollard. This show is a huge fan of Tony Pollard. It goes back to what matters most to the Cowboys for me 2 weeks ago is that Tony Pollard is their best running back, and they need to treat him as such. CeeDee Lamb's good. Gallup, it's been kind of this tough return. I don't know what it is exactly. He's fine. I really think
Gallup's your 3.
That's what I'm saying.
You're rolling.
The sliding around of what Odell does for that pass game when you have the stable of pass rushers on the other side of the ball. You have one of the best corners in football that everybody loved to crap on last year because he only gets picks, but he gives up 1,000,000 yards. I don't know. Guys looked pretty good this year. They're a really good football team, and they're a place that Odell Beckham should want to go play. So Vikings, I won't overreact. I think you'll be fine. You had a really bad week. Too. Sorry if you're a Vikings fan that you went to go watch your 8-1 team play at home and they got smoked. That's tough being a football fan in those moments. They're going to be fine. And the best part for the Vikings is don't they have a chance to get this off them right away? They play New England, I thought, on Thanksgiving. I want to say.
The Vikings schedule. Let us see. Their next game is against the New England Patriots on a Thursday, the night of Thanksgiving. You're correct. We got one more game to talk about here on this podcast. It is the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cincinnati comes away with the win in Pittsburgh by a score of 37-30. Joey Burrow, 355 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One of them was maybe one of the best interceptions I've ever seen in my life from TJ Watt. Just didn't make any damn sense. Unbelievable. So that one honestly shouldn't even count. I wonder if they even give him a turnover-worthy play for that. Hold on. Now I got to look. Now, did you see this? Did you see what I'm talking about?
I might have been on.
Just TJ Watt.
I was on post game during this.
Just TJ Watt. Oh, they didn't know. They didn't give him a turnover-worthy play for that.
Oh, tough. Maybe they'll adjust it. It's early. I got it.
No, they should not. They should not give him a turnover-worthy play for that.
Those are one of those plays that look like a Madden glitch.
Right. That's not a turnover-worthy play. Burrow, that's superhuman from TJ Watt. Don't even fault Burrow for it. Just give literally 100%. Give it 100% of the credit to TJ Watt. I don't even put any of the blame on Joe Burrow. That's where I am for that. T. Higgins,
that's insane.
Monster day, 13 targets, 9 receptions, 148 yards. Not a lot going on in the run game for the Bengals, so it was good to see them be like, hey, the run game's not working. Okay, let's lean on the pass game. Let's win a shootout. And they absolutely did because they can every time, even without Jamar Chase. God.
That's crazy.
This is the identity. This is the identity for the Bengals. Anyways, my what matters most is actually that Kenny Pickett looked good.
Hell yeah, that's where I was going. Yep.
Kenny Pickett looked good, man. So did George Pickens. And George Pickens had there was a bomb where he was able to get behind the defense in the end zone, and Pickett just missed him because he made Pickens turn his body the opposite way, and they should have had a touchdown there. They also should have had another touchdown when Pickens split the defense up the sideline, and it was almost a really incredible play by Jesse Bates, but then Pickens just absolutely dropped it. This connection looks awesome, is my main takeaway. That is what matters most is we all looked at the Steelers drafting Kenny Pickett early and then no quarterback going for, what was it, over 50 picks after that. And so it was like, whoa, okay, kind of overdrafted this guy. A lot of people didn't even think that he was consensus QB1, but he looked great. I don't know if it's just because he felt at home because it was true football weather playing in Pitt, obviously the stadium where he played when he was in college, and maybe just like feeling he was back as a gunslinger with the Pitt Panthers. But whatever it was, man, it looked awesome. It was a really great game from Kenny. I think not a perfect game, of course, but definitely a building block game. And that's what mattered most.
I agree. You should come out of that game as a Steelers fan and feel good, right? You should feel like, okay, we took this guy in the first round and he is showing development in a sense of urgency and seeing the field and getting the ball out. And, you know, obviously a guy that knows when he can run a little bit, but accuracy and the connection with Pickens is just, that's so vital because these are the guys. These guys are going to grow together. They are going to thrive together. I think that Kenny is actually a really good quarterback for Pickens because Kenny can throw that back shoulder ball and he'll trust George to make plays. I know he missed him once today pretty badly, but besides that, I mean, Pickens had a good day and Freiermuth's really thrived with Pickett as well. So the Bengals, a huge win for them in the playoff race. They needed this one. The fact they could do it without Chase is huge. When Burrow's on, there's not many like him. But definitely some progress here from Pittsburgh with what has been a very tough season.
All right, there we go. That's what matters most from all the games that we saw on Sunday. Chiefs and Chargers still playing right now. They actually just started the second quarter as we are recording this podcast, 13-10, and it looks like this game is this has the makings of an absolute shootout. So we might have to open up the podcast on Tuesday because we're giving you 2 podcasts back to back this week for the holidays. But we might have to open up the Tuesday podcast with a what matters most on Kansas City and Los Angeles.
I think so too, because the stakes of that game are just so big.
Right. So we'll probably have to do that.
I like that. I like that idea.
As we have started to do During the midweek episodes, we're also going to update the draft order. We're going to give you a look at the top 20. We're going to talk about some potential targets for the teams at the top, teams that could shape the draft, where teams are moving, whether they're up or down, whether we think they're going to continue moving up or down as the season goes on. Maybe give you a little bit of some splash mock draft picks for some teams at the top, see what we're thinking, some players that we could attach to a couple of teams. And then, of course, we'll give you some guys that we watch this weekend in college football as well during our stock market update. Connor, you got anything else before we get out of here?
I think you summed it up really well. I mean, obviously, we really enjoy doing this show. It's starting to divide itself where the playoff teams get a lot of shine on this show. Just a reminder to everybody. And if your team didn't get a lot of shine because they're a really bad team, it's your time to be under the spotlight on Tuesday's show where we do the Wednesday show. Show. But
are we releasing it on Wednesday or releasing it on Tuesday? Did we decide? Because it's the holiday week?
We didn't.
And you know what? We're not going to.
No, we'll leave it as a surprise. I know some people really like to do the pod on their Thanksgiving commute stuff. So if that impacts you significantly, when you're driving, you could tweet at us, yell at us, and we always try to. We serve the people on this show. That's what we do. So
we do. True.
With that,
I'm
good.
You're good. All right, cool. All right, so that'll be the schedule, but that's what we're looking for. If we didn't talk about your team a ton today, we'll obviously be talking about them in the midweek show, which, we like to do a lot more because we like to check out the offseason. We like to check out the draft stuff. So it'll be a good time. Appreciate everybody listening. My name is Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. Thanks for listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. We'll see you guys one more time this holiday week to talk about some NFL draft. See you then.